So, guys, what's going on? Jermall Charlo, Jermall Lions only Charlo. I think he turned 31. Him and his brother turned 31 today, or was it yesterday? I can't remember. But happy birthday to Jermall Charlo anyway, and his brother Jermell, both turning 31. So I hope they all both had a great birthday. But yeah, Jermall's come out and said that he wants to fight Canelo Alvarez, and he'll be willing to fight Canelo Alvarez at 160 or 168. Um, I like that. I like that fight. I like that fight for both for Jermall and Canelo. I think it's a good fight. I think Jermall has a good style to trouble Canelo. I still favor. I would obviously favor Canelo in the fight. I favor Canelo over every 160 or 168 pounder. But I think it's a great fight, and I think the promotion is would be big. I think Jermall Charlo needs a signature win, and I mean he needs he needs to unify. And now Jermall Charlo did mention about this is what I want. I want all the other Jermall Charlo to be fighting all the other champions. I want him to fight Andrade. I want him to fight Golovkin, and now he did mention that he'd be willing to fight Golovkin. He also mentioned the Andrade fight, and he also agreed with Canelo about Andrade being a horrible fighter. And he goes, Canelo's right. He's a horrible fighter. It does have a horrible style. He's not very exciting. And you have to agree, Andrade doesn't have a very fan-friendly, fan-pleasing style. Unfortunately, although he's a good fighter, he doesn't have... firstly, he's not a big name. He's not a big star. And like I think Jermall pointed that out at his press conference that he's got to do whatever he's got to do to get his name out there, because his fights are not very exciting. He's not a big name. And basically, Jermall basically said Andrade is irrelevant, even though he's a world champion. That is a fight that I would like to see, Jermall and Andrade. I think that's a great fight. I think that's a very good fight. And if I was Jermall, I'd be jumping at that fight, because I think that fight would be big. The promotion would be big. And I think it's a very winnable fight for Jermall Charlo. I think Jermall Charlo beats Andrade. Of what I've seen of Andrade in his last fight, I think Jermall is a better fighter than Liam Williams. And I think Jermall Charlo hits harder than Liam Williams. I think Jermall Charlo is a better boxer than Liam Williams. And I just think that his relentless pressure, strength, power, I think will cause Andrade huge amounts of trouble. So, to be honest with you, I like the Charlo fight. I like the Charlo fight for Andrade. I like that Andrade, Charlo, I think Charlo for me is a very dangerous fight. Very, very dangerous fight for anybody. I think Charlo believes in himself. He's a good fighter. He's got good skills. I believe he would beat Andrade. I believe out of the two, Andrade and Charlo, for Canelo, I think Charlo's the harder fight. I think I think Andrade might be the more skilled boxer. One thing I will say is, though, Charlo does struggle against boxers like Andrade that slick and box and move. And we saw that against Korobov. However, I think Andrade has quite a bit of weaknesses there. Like his stamina was an issue in his last fight. And also his punch resistance didn't look great against Liam Williams. He was wobbled. And I believe Charlo, although Andrade, I feel, would outbox Charlo, I believe Charlo will get to him somewhere along the way. And I think Charlo will put a lot relentless pressure on Andrade, hit him with a shot, hurt him, and I think he'll jump on him. I'm not sure Andrade can take that kind of pressure, constant pressure, from someone like Charlo for 12 rounds. I just don't. I think if he was to get a win over Andrade, if Charlo was to get a win over Andrade, I think that puts him in a great position for a Canelo fight. Also, it would wipe one of them out in terms of getting the Canelo fight. I think what these middleweights need to do, they needed a convincing win to leapfrog their way into a Canelo. Now, right now, if things stay as they are right now, Canelo will probably be looking at a Triple G trilogy, because that's a bigger fight. However, if Jermall Charlo was to fight Andrade and beat Andrade, or if Andrade was to fight Jermall Charlo and beat Charlo, what they would do is they'd put themselves in a position where they may leapfrog a Triple G trilogy. And I'll tell you how, because the promotion for an Andrade Charlo fight would be huge. So the winner of that fight would be coming off a huge promotion, be coming off a huge win, And then the public and the boxing fans will start demanding for Canelo to fight one of them. And both of them are young. Triple G is a lot older. If Triple G fights Murata and wins, but, Charlo beats Andrade and beats him in emphatic fashion, that puts Charlo in a great position for the Canelo fight. And actually, the public will probably demand that fight then. Whereas right now, when you look at their wins, what was Charlo's best win? Derevyanchenko. You have to question, what's Andrade's best win? They haven't really done a lot where the public's clamoring and they really think that, Charlo or Andrade can beat Canelo. It's just their fanboys. But in terms of like the hardcore neutral boxing public, not a lot of them think that Charlo or Andrade beat them. But if they fight each other, because of the promotion of the fight, because of the hype around the fight, because of how big the fight is, and if one of them puts in an emphatic performance, the public will then start demanding that fight for Canelo to fight one of them. I'm talking about neutrals, not just their fans. Like, if, for example, Charlo was to absolutely obliterate Andrade, then I would be pushing for Canelo to fight Charlo, because that would be an impressive win and a statement, right? And then I would actually prefer for Canelo to fight Charlo than Golovkin, because for me, Charlo's younger, fresher, and he's just put in an emphatic performance against another champion, unified. I think that would be for me, a bigger fight at that particular point, because Golovkin would be about 40 by the time Canelo fights him. So, to be honest with you, I just think it's about Charlo and Andrade putting themselves in a position where Canelo can't overlook them. And what I mean by Canelo's not avoiding anyone. Canelo fight anyone. But what I mean is, you're not really earned. And what I mean, when I mean earn, I'm not saying that neither of those guys don't deserve a fight with Canelo. Of course they do. What I mean is by earned, I mean, you're putting yourself in a position where Canelo the fight's so big and the public demand is so big that Canelo, the biggest money fight or the biggest fight out there for him is you. Right now, it's not. Golovkin is. Golovkin financially is the biggest fight. However, Charlo destroys Andrade or Andrade beats Charlo in emphatic fashion, it may no longer be, because the demand from the boxing fans and the boxing public may be for Canelo to fight one of them. And also remember, we've seen the Golovkin fight twice, so we know what we expect from that fight. We haven't seen Canelo fight Andrade or Charlo, so we don't know what to expect from that fight. It's a different fighter, different style. They're bringing different qualities to the ring. And they're younger, they're hungrier. They're undefeated, both of them. So this is what I'm trying to say, that if they both fight one another, they're putting themselves in a great position where Canelo will probably fight one of them. But again, it takes two to tango. So both of them need to put it on the line. At the minute, you see, especially Andrade having it, like Charlo's not really having a dig at Canelo. He's saying that I'm willing to fight him, but Charlo's not as keen as Andrade. Maybe because Andrade knows that he's with DAZN and the fight will be easier to be made, but I don't think that's the case, because Plant's with the PBC and it looks like that fight's going to be made. But the fact is that I think Charlo and Andrade need to get it on. I think they need to get it on, and hopefully after this Montiel fight that Charlo has, we can see Charlo fight Andrade, because that would be a monster fight. It looks like Golovkin's going to fight Murata in December, right? So if that's going to happen in December, then Andrade and Charlo could happen around September, maybe November. That could happen as well. Then we'll have two unified champions, and maybe the winners fight one another. Maybe the winner of Golovkin. I don't think Golovkin will fight. I think if Golovkin beats Murata, I think he'll know if Canelo fights in September and fights Plant. I think if Canelo's successful in that fight, I think the next fight will probably be a Golovkin trilogy. But if Plant, like I said, if Andrade or Charlo can put themselves in a great position by fighting one another, they can't fight anybody else and earn a Canelo fight. The only way they can do it is by fighting each other. And the winner then is in a great position. So it's a risk, because you're putting your undefeated record on the line and you're putting that chance of maybe Canelo fighting you if you lose. But you may not get a Canelo fight anyway. This way, you're putting yourself in a great position to get the Canelo fight, and at the same time, you're getting huge promotion from the fight because it's a massive fight. You're getting a big payday because Charlo and Andrade would be a big pay. I'm pretty sure it'll be a big payday for both of them. And then you're also putting you're daring to be great in the sense you're putting it on the line against another champion. And then if you win, the rewards are massive because the reward may be a Canelo fight. So this is what I'm trying to say, that I think that both of them need to put it on the line. Unfortunately, I don't know where politics might get in the way because of the fact that Andrade's with DAZN and Charlo's with PBC. Are they going to be able to do a fight like that? Because, like I said, now Eddie Hearn has openly said that he's willing to let Andrade fight on Fox, and they're willing to negotiate and for Andrade to fight Charlo on Fox. So it doesn't even have to be on DAZN, because Andrade's he's not a guy that's going to be moving the needle. And is that fight going to move the needle? I reckon it would, actually. I think Andrade's not a fighter that's going to move the needle on his own. But in a fight like that, it would move the needle. So I think Eddie Hearn I think Eddie Hearn wants Andrade to deliver Andrade a big fight, because I don't think he's been able to do that. And it's tough because, listen, Eddie Hearn's got so many fighters. He's got to please so many people. It's not easy for Eddie Hearn. It's hard for Eddie Hearn to please everybody, because now Andrade wants the Canelo fight. Billy Joe wanted a Canelo fight. Callum Smith wanted a Canelo fight. All of these guys want the Canelo fight. So how many people can he deliver for? You know, he's delivered for 2 of his guys. Now, really, he's only got Andrade. I believe he can deliver for him if he's wanting to get. I think Eddie Hearn's wanting to get Charlo to fight Andrade. That would be a big fight. No doubt about it. No matter what you think of Andrade, that's a big fight. That's a big fight for both guys. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Hopefully after Charlo's next fight, that fight can be made. Because it's a unification fight, man. It's a unification fight between 2 young, undefeated champions. It makes a lot of sense. The winner of that fight puts themselves in a great position to fight Canelo Alvarez, honestly. And not just in the sense of putting themselves in a position. They're putting themselves in a position from, I reckon, the public will demand for that fight. Let alone them shouting, the public will then start demanding for it. So I personally think that would be a great fight. I think that should be made. But what do you guys make of Charlo and Charlo saying he's willing to fight Canelo at 160 or 168? I will say this, Charlo's moved up to 154, and now he's saying he's willing to go up to 168 if it makes sense. However, I don't think Charlo's come up from 154. Canelo's also come up from 154. He's not exactly a big, super middleweight. So Charlo wouldn't be that undersized against Canelo at fighting at 168. But I do think the fight probably makes more sense. And the way Charlo was talking, it makes more sense for him at 160. But again, in order for Canelo to come down to 160 and fight him, it's got to make sense for him. And the only way it makes sense for him if, for example, Charlo's fight got all the belts, or Charlo's got 3 of the belts, and then he knows if he beats Charlo, he can fight Golovkin for all the belts. That's the only way it makes sense. So, again, Charlo, the only way he's going to be able to do that is by fighting the other champions. So, leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And, guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.